Luna Martinez wiped her paint-stained hands on her old apron as her phone buzzed frantically on the cluttered table of her tiny studio apartment. Between canvases leaning against every available wall and tubes of acrylic paint scattered across the floor, she navigated carefully to answer the call. The caller ID showed Jasmine Chen, her best friend since college, and Luna could already sense panic in the rapid succession of rings. "Luna, thank goodness you picked up." Jasmine's voice came through, breathless and rushed. "I need the biggest favor of my entire life. Please tell me you're free tonight." Luna glanced at her current painting. What? A half-finished landscape that she'd been working on for her upcoming gallery submission. Paint streaked her cheek, and her long black hair was messily tied up with what appeared to be a paintbrush. "I'm kind of in the middle of something important, Jas. What's going on? Remember that blind date I told you about? The one my manager set up with some tech billionaire for tonight?" Jasmine's words tumbled out so fast, Luna could barely keep up. "Well, I just got called for an emergency modeling shoot for Vogue. This could be my big break, Luna, but I can't just stand up this guy. He's apparently some really important businessman, and my manager will kill me if I mess this up." Luna set down her paintbrush and sank onto her secondhand couch, where Ruby, her orange tabby kitten, was curled up in a patch of afternoon sunlight. "Jasmine, you can't be serious. You want me to go on a date with a complete stranger? It's just dinner. One dinner. You sit there, make small talk for like 30 minutes, then politely excuse yourself. He probably expects some shallow conversation about designer handbags anyway. You're so much better at talking to people than you give yourself credit for." Luna looked down at her paint-splattered clothes and laughed. "Have you seen me lately? I look like I wrestled with a rainbow. This morning I forgot to eat breakfast because I was so focused on getting the sunset colors right in my painting. I'm not exactly billionaire dating material. It's exactly what makes you perfect, Jasmine." Insisted. "You're real, Luna. You're genuine and kind and interesting. Any guy would be lucky to spend an evening with you. Besides, rich guys like him probably meet fake, pretentious women all the time. You'll be refreshing." Luna scratched Ruby behind the ears, considering the request. She knew how much Jasmine's modeling career meant to her.
Ow.
And they'd been supporting each other's dreams since their college days when they were both broke art students sharing ramen noodles and big aspirations. "Where's this dinner supposed to happen?" "Skyline Restaurant. It's a rooftop place in Manhattan with the city views. I already made the reservation for 7 o'clock. His name is Gabriel Stone, and apparently he's the CEO of some major tech company. All you have to do is show up, be yourself, and then leave. I'll owe you forever." Luna sighed, already knowing she would say yes. "Fine, but you owe me more than forever. You owe me a lifetime of coffee and pastries from that expensive place you like. Deal. You're the best friend in the universe. I'll text you all the details. Love you." An artist out of place 3 hours later. Luna stood outside Skyline Restaurant feeling like she'd accidentally wandered into someone else's life. The building stretched impossibly high into the evening sky. All glass and steel and understated elegance that screamed expensive. Doormen in crisp uniforms nodded politely as well-dressed couples glided past her into the lobby. She'd done her best to look presentable in her only nice dress, a simple navy blue number she'd bought for job interviews. Her long hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and she'd managed to scrub most of the paint from under her fingernails. In her nervous hands, she clutched a small container of lavender shortbread cookies she'd baked that afternoon. Bringing homemade treats to a first date was probably weird, but baking always calmed her nerves, and she needed something to do with her anxious energy. The elevator ride to the top floor felt endless. Luna watched the numbers climb while her stomach performed acrobatics. She'd looked up Gabriel Stone online during her preparation, finding professional headshots of a serious-looking man with dark hair and intense eyes. Every photo showed him in expensive suits, usually surrounded by other important-looking people at business events and charity galas. When the elevator doors opened, Luna stepped into a restaurant that looked like something from a movie. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of the Manhattan skyline as the sun set behind the buildings. Crystal glasses caught the light from elegant chandeliers. Soft jazz music created an atmosphere of intimate sophistication. "Reservation." "Name?" the hostess asked, with a professional smile. "Chen. Jasmine Chen." Though actually I'm here instead of her, for Gabriel Stone. Luna felt heat rise in her cheeks as she stumbled over the explanation. The hostess nodded knowingly and led her through the restaurant to a corner table with perhaps the best view in the place. Luna's breath caught as she took in the panoramic vista of the city lights beginning to twinkle in the gathering dusk.
Ow.
Mr. Stone will be with you shortly, the hostess said,
Ow.
pulling out Luna's chair with practiced grace. Luna sat down carefully, placing the container of cookies on the white tablecloth, and immediately wondering if she should hide them. Everything around her gleamed with understated luxury, from the heavy silverware to the crystal water glasses. She felt like an imposter in her simple dress and discount store jewelry. The unexpected meeting Gabriel Stone approached the table 5 minutes later, and Luna's first thought was that the photographs hadn't captured how tall he was. He moved with the confident stride of someone accustomed to being the most important person in any room. Wearing a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than Luna made in 3 months. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and when his eyes met hers, she noticed they were a striking shade of green. But something in his expression shifted as he took in the woman sitting at his table. He'd been expecting Jasmine Chen, the Instagram model his assistant had shown him photos of. Instead, he found a young woman with gentle brown eyes and an uncertain smile, who looked nothing like the glamorous socialites he usually encountered. "You're not Jasmine Chen," Gabriel said as he reached the table, his voice carrying a note of confusion rather than accusation. Luna stood up quickly, her napkin falling to the floor. "No, I'm Luna Martinez. I'm here instead of Jasmine. She had an emergency work thing come up, a modeling shoot, and she didn't want to cancel on you last minute. I'm her best friend, so she asked me to come explain in person." Gabriel raised an eyebrow, processing this unexpected development. In his world of corporate mergers and strategic partnerships, he was used to surprises, but this was definitely a first. "So you came to dinner to tell me that my actual date couldn't make it?" "Exactly. Well, sort of." Luna tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a nervous habit she'd had since childhood. "I mean, I could just leave now if you prefer. I know this is probably super weird, and you're probably busy with important CEO things." Something about her obvious nervousness and the genuine concern in her voice made Gabriel pause. He'd been prepared for another tedious evening of forced conversation with someone more interested in his bank account than getting to know him as a person. This unexpected turn of events was actually intriguing. "You bake something, Gabriel?" Observed, nodding toward the container on the table. Luna's face flushed pink. "Oh, those. Made lavender shortbread cookies this afternoon. I bake when I'm nervous, and I was really nervous about this whole situation. They're probably terrible. I should have left them at home." Gabriel sat down across from her, surprising them both. "I haven't had homemade cookies in years. May I try one?" "Really?" "You don't have to be polite. I know this whole thing is bizarre." But Luna opened the container anyway, revealing perfectly golden cookies with tiny purple lavender buds visible in the dough. Gabriel took a cookie and bit into it thoughtfully. The buttery texture melted on his tongue, complemented by the subtle floral notes of lavender and a hint of lemon zest. It was unlike anything he'd tasted in the high-end restaurants he frequented, where desserts were architectural marvels that prioritized presentation over comfort. "These are exceptional," Gabriel said, and Luna could tell from his tone that he meant it. "You made them from scratch." "I make everything from scratch. It's kind of a thing with me. I can't afford fancy ingredients, so I have to make up for it with technique and creativity." Luna relaxed slightly, encouraged by his genuine interest. "I've been experimenting with different flavor combinations. Last week I tried rosemary and orange, which sounds weird but actually works really well. It's discovering common ground." Found himself settling into his chair more comfortably than he had in months of similar dinners. "So you're a professional baker?" "Oh no, I'm an artist. A painter, actually. Well, trying to be. I work part-time at a flower shop to pay rent while I build up my portfolio." Luna gestured toward the window. "Living in the city is expensive, but being surrounded by all this energy and creativity is worth eating ramen for dinner most nights." Gabriel followed her gaze to the city lights, stretching endlessly in every direction. He saw the same view from his penthouse apartment every night. But Luna's obvious appreciation for it made him notice details he'd long taken for granted. What kind of paintings do you create? Luna's entire demeanor brightened as she began describing her work. I love capturing moments of connection, like I'll see an elderly couple sharing a bench in the park, or kids playing in a fountain. And I try to paint not just what they look like, but what they're feeling. I want people to look at my paintings and remember what it feels like to be truly happy, or peaceful, or in love. Gabriel watched her hands move expressively as she spoke, noticing small traces of paint under her nails that she'd missed in her preparation. Her passion was evident in every gesture, and he found himself genuinely curious about her artistic process. That sounds like you're trying to paint emotions rather than just images. Exactly. Anyone can paint a tree or a building, but painting the feeling of sitting under that tree on a perfect spring day, or the sense of home you get when you see a familiar building after traveling, that's what interests me. Their conversation was interrupted by a server asking about drink orders. Gabriel ordered his usual scotch, while Luna requested water with lemon, admitting she didn't drink much because alcohol made her paint worse the next day. You paint every day? Gabriel asked as the server departed. Almost every day. I get so lost in a painting that I forget to eat or sleep. My friend Jasmine is always lecturing me about taking better care of myself. But when the light is perfect, or I finally figure out how to capture exactly what I'm seeing in my head, everything else just fades away. Gabriel understood that feeling more than Luna realized. He often became so absorbed in complex business negotiations or strategic planning that hours would pass without his notice. But hearing Luna describe her artistic passion reminded him of his own early days, building his company, when innovation and creativity drove him more than profit margins. How long have you been painting? Since I was little. My grandmother taught me when I was about 6 years old. She was an incredible artist, though she never got the recognition she deserved. She always told me that art isn't about becoming famous or making money. It's about adding beauty and meaning to the world. Luna paused, realizing she'd been talking non-stop about herself. I'm sorry, I'm completely monopolizing the conversation. Tell me about your company. Jasmine said you work in technology. Gabriel found himself in the unusual position of not wanting to talk about work. Usually his business achievements were his primary topic of conversation on dates, partly because they impressed his companions, and partly because he genuinely loved what he did. But something about Luna's artistic perspective made him want to share different aspects of himself. I develop software that helps companies operate more efficiently. We create programs that can analyze massive amounts of data and find patterns that humans might miss. Gabriel paused, seeing Luna's politely confused expression. It's not as exciting as it sounds. But you must love it, right? The way you talk about analyzing patterns, it reminds me of how I study light and shadow in my paintings. You're looking for hidden connections that other people don't see. Gabriel was struck by her comparison. No one had ever related his work to art before, but Luna's perspective revealed similarities he'd never considered. I suppose there is a creative element to it, finding elegant solutions to complex problems. The evening progressed far beyond the 30 minutes Luna had promised Jasmine. Their conversation flowed naturally from art to technology to their respective childhoods. Gabriel learned that Luna had grown up in a small town upstate with parents who'd supported her artistic dreams even when money was tight. Luna discovered that Gabriel had built his company from nothing after his father died, driven by a desire to honor his father's memory and support his aging grandfather. An unexpected connection as the restaurant began to empty and the city lights grew brighter against the darkening sky. Luna realized with surprise that she'd been genuinely enjoying herself. Gabriel was nothing like the arrogant billionaire she'd expected. Yes, he was serious and sometimes formal in his speech. But underneath that polished exterior, she glimpsed someone thoughtful and unexpectedly lonely. I should probably let you get back to your evening, Luna said finally, glancing at her phone. And seeing it was nearly 10 o'clock, I'm sure you have early meetings tomorrow or important business calls? Gabriel looked genuinely disappointed. Actually, this has been the most interesting conversation I've had in months. Most people I meet are more interested in what I can do for them than in actually getting to know me. Luna gathered her things, including the nearly empty container of cookies that Gabriel had steadily worked his way through during their conversation. Well, I hope your next actual date goes better, Jasmine. It feels terrible about tonight. Luna, Gabriel stood as she did, his business training making the gesture automatic. Would you like to have dinner again sometime? It's a real dinner? Not as a substitute for anyone else? Luna looked up at him in surprise. Throughout the evening, she noticed Gabriel's rare smiles when she told stories about her painting adventures or her cat Ruby's latest antics. She'd seen how his formal demeanor softened when he talked about his grandfather or the early days of building his company. But she hadn't expected him to want to see her again. You sure? I mean, we're from completely different worlds. Probably usually date other business executives or socialites or people who know which fork to use for each course. Gabriel's smile was genuine and reached his eyes for the first time that evening. I usually date people who bore me to tears within the first 10 minutes. You've managed to keep me interested for over 3 hours while talking about paint colors and flour. Shop customers. Luna felt a flutter of excitement mixed with nervousness. Okay, yes, I'd like that. Gabriel pulled out his phone. May I have your number? As Luna recited her digits, she couldn't help smiling at the surreal turn her evening had taken. Come to deliver a polite apology, and ended up agreeing to a second date with one of the city's most eligible bachelors. Gabriel walked her to the elevator. And as the doors opened, Luna turned back to him. Thank you for being so understanding about tonight. And for giving Jasmine's weird friend a chance. Thank you for the best evening I've had in a very long time, Gabriel replied. And Luna, you're not weird, you're extraordinary, as the elevator descended and Luna watched Gabriel's figure disappear. She couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just taken an unexpected and thrilling turn. She had no idea that 37 floors above, Gabriel was standing at the window of the empty restaurant, looking out at the city and thinking about paint-stained fingers and lavender cookies, wondering how a simple substitute date had managed to turn his carefully ordered world completely upside down. 2 weeks after their first dinner, Luna stood in front of her easel at 6 in the morning, paintbrush poised over a canvas depicting Central Park in autumn. Through her small apartment windows, illuminating the controlled chaos of her art studio, tubes of paint, sketches, and half-finished canvases covered every surface. While Ruby the kitten had claimed a sunny spot on top of her art supply box, her phone buzzed with a text message. And Luna smiled when she saw Gabriel's name. They'd been texting regularly since their dinner, sharing photos of their daily lives. Gabriel sent pictures of sunrise views from his office window, while Luna shared images of interesting flowers from the shop or Ruby's latest sleeping positions. Good morning, early bird. Coffee meeting at 9 a.m. Something I want to discuss with you. Luna typed back quickly. Mysterious businessman behavior. Should I be worried? Only if you're afraid of good opportunities. Blue Moon Cafe on 5th Street. Luna set down her brush and looked around her studio apartment. She'd been surviving on freelance illustration work and her part-time flower shop job. But money was getting tighter each month. Her landlord had already hinted about a rent increase, and she'd been eating more ramen than actual meals lately. But she'd learned to be cautious about accepting help, especially from someone as wealthy as Gabriel. An hour later, Luna arrived. At Blue Moon Cafe, wearing her best jeans and a soft yellow sweater that brought out the gold flecks in her brown eyes, Gabriel was already seated at a corner table, looking perfectly put together despite the early hour. He wore a navy blue button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and Luna noticed he'd ordered 2 coffee cups instead of his usual single espresso. You look like you've been up for hours, Luna said, sliding into the seat across from him. All billionaires wake up at dawn, or is that just you? Gabriel handed her the second coffee cup, which turned out to be a caramel latte with extra foam. I remembered you mentioning you liked sweet coffee, and yes, I'm usually in the office by 7. Old habits from when I was building the company. Luna wrapped her hands around the warm cup, touched that he'd remembered such a small detail. What's this mysterious opportunity you mentioned? Gabriel pulled out his tablet and showed Luna a series of photos depicting the main lobby of his company's headquarters. Space was impressive but sterile, all marble and glass and expensive furniture that looked beautiful but felt cold. Stone Enterprises is moving into a new building next month. The lobby is functional, but it lacks personality. I want to commission a mural that represents innovation, connection, and human creativity. Luna studied the photos, her artistic mind already visualizing possibilities. The wall space was enormous, probably 20 feet high and 40 feet wide. This would be a massive project. You're talking about hiring a real muralist. Someone with experience in commercial art? I'm talking about hiring you, Gabriel said simply. I've been thinking about what you said at dinner, about painting emotions and connections. That's exactly what this space needs. Luna set down her coffee cup and stared at him. Gabriel, I appreciate the thought, but I can't accept charity. I know you're trying to help me financially, but I need to build my career on my own merit. Gabriel leaned forward, his green eyes serious. This isn't charity, Luna. I've spent the past 2 weeks researching muralists in the city. I've looked at portfolios, checked references, and gotten quotes. But none of them captured what I'm looking for, until I remembered how you described your painting philosophy. He swiped to another screen on his tablet, showing Luna a series of her paintings that he'd somehow obtained photos of. I contacted the gallery where you displayed these last month. The owner, Patricia Henley, spent 20 minutes telling me about your talent and dedication. She said you have an instinct for capturing human emotion that most artists spend decades trying to develop. Luna's heart raced as she realized Gabriel had done actual research, not just offered her a job out of sympathy. You really looked into my work. I'm a businessman, Luna. I don't make decisions based on personal feelings alone. But I also don't ignore good instincts, and every instinct I have tells me you're exactly what this project needs. Gabriel paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. The budget for this mural is $50,000. That's what I was prepared to pay any qualified artist. Luna's eyes widened. $50,000 would solve her financial problems for months and give her the freedom to focus on her art without worrying about rent money. But more importantly, it represented validation of her work from someone whose opinion was beginning to matter to her more than she cared to admit. Could I see the space in person before deciding? Gabriel's smile was answer enough. The empty canvas stone? Enterprise's headquarters occupied an entire city block, a gleaming tower of glass and steel that stretched toward the clouds. Luna felt small walking through the massive revolving doors into the lobby. Her sketchbook clutched against her chest like armor. Gabriel met her at the security desk, wearing a charcoal suit that made him look every inch the powerful CEO. But when he smiled at Luna, his formal business persona softened into something warmer and more personal. Ready to see your canvas? Gabriel asked, leading her toward the elevator bank. The lobby space was even more impressive in person than in the photographs. Natural light poured through floor-to-ceiling windows, creating dramatic shadows and highlights. Throughout the day, the wall Gabriel had chosen for the mural faced the main entrance, ensuring that every visitor would see Luna's work as their first impression of the company. Luna walked slowly around the space, her artist's eye analyzing sight lines, lighting conditions, and the flow of foot traffic. Gabriel watched her work, noting how she held her hands up to frame different sections of the wall and took measurements with a small tape measure. She'd pulled from her bag. The morning light hits this section beautifully, Luna murmured, more to herself than to Gabriel. And the afternoon sun would create interesting shadows here. Gabriel found himself studying Luna as intently as she studied the space. Her long hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and she wore paint-stained jeans with a soft gray sweater. She looked nothing like the polished professionals who usually walked through his lobby, but she belonged here in a way that surprised him. What are you thinking? Gabriel asked when Luna had completed her circuit of the space. Luna turned to face him, her brown eyes bright with excitement, thinking about connection. Your company brings people together through technology. Right, so I want to paint the feeling of human connection across different cultures, generations, ages. Like imagine a grandmother video calling her grandchildren, or scientists collaborating across continents, or friends sharing moments despite being physically apart. Gabriel listened as Luna's vision poured out of her, complete with gestures. In detailed descriptions of color palettes and compositional elements, her passion was infectious, and he found himself genuinely excited about the project for the first time. How long would something like this take? 6 weeks? Maybe 8 if I really want to perfect the details? Luna bit her lip, a nervous habit. Gabriel had noticed during their first dinner. Gabriel, are you absolutely sure about this? Because once I start, I'm going to pour everything I have into making this the best work I've ever done. Gabriel stepped closer to Luna, close enough to see the gold flecks in her eyes and the faint smudge of blue paint on her left temple that she'd missed when washing her face that morning. I've never been more sure of anything, Gabriel said quietly. I want you to create something that shows people what connection really means. Meeting the family, 2 days later, Luna was in Gabriel's penthouse apartment for the first time, spread out on his living room floor with fabric samples, color wheels, and preliminary sketches scattered around her like an artistic explosion. Gabriel sat on his leather couch with his laptop, occasionally glancing up from his work to watch Luna arrange and rearrange her materials. The burgundy is too dark, Luna muttered, holding up a paint sample against a sketch. But the crimson might be too bright for the corporate setting. Gabriel's apartment was exactly what Luna had expected: expensive, minimalist, and perfectly organized. But as the afternoon wore on, she'd managed to transform his pristine living space into something that looked actually lived in. A knock at the door interrupted Luna's color deliberations. Gabriel frowned, not expecting any visitors, but when he opened the door, his expression shifted to fond exasperation. "Grandfather, I wasn't expecting you." Theodore Stone was a distinguished man in his 70s with silver hair and kind eyes that twinkled with intelligence and mischief. He walked with a carved wooden cane but moved with the energy of someone decades younger. He wore a well-tailored brown suit and carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who'd built an empire from nothing. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd check on my favorite grandson," Theodore said, his gaze moving past Gabriel to take in the artistic chaos of the living room. "Though it appears you have company?" Luna scrambled to her feet, suddenly aware of how she must look sprawled on the floor surrounded by art supplies. Gabriel's grandfather was the founder of Stone Enterprises, a legendary businessman whose story Luna had read about online. "Grandfather, this is Luna Martinez. She's the artist I told you about who's creating the lobby mural." Gabriel gestured Luna forward. "Luna, my grandfather, Theodore Stone." Theodore's eyes lit up with interest as he took in Luna's paint-stained fingers and the creative energy radiating from her workspace. "Martinez, I've heard wonderful things about your work. Gabriel tells me you're going to bring some life to our sterile corporate lobby." Luna laughed, immediately put at ease by Theodore's warm manner. "I'm certainly going to try." "Your grandson has given me an incredible opportunity." Theodore settled into an armchair, clearly planning to stay for a while. "Tell me about your vision for this mural." "I've been hoping someone would humanize that building for years." As Luna began describing her concept, Theodore listened with the focused attention of someone genuinely interested in her ideas. Gabriel watched the interaction with growing warmth. Seeing how naturally Luna connected with his grandfather and how Theodore's face lit up as she spoke. "You know," Theodore said, when Luna had finished explaining her preliminary designs, "this reminds me of the early days when I started the company. I wanted to create technology that brought families closer together, helped people share their lives across distances. Somehow, over the years, we got so focused on profits and efficiency that we forgot about the human element." Luna nodded enthusiastically. "That's exactly what I want to capture. Technology is impressive, but it's meaningless without the human connections it enables." Theodore glanced meaningfully at Gabriel. "I like her. She understands what really matters." Gabriel felt his chest tighten with an emotion he couldn't quite name. Watching Luna and his grandfather connect so naturally, seeing her genuine interest in the company's founding principles, made him realize how much he wanted her to be part of his world. Theodore continued, "You should bring Luna too. Sunday dinner this week. Your grandmother would love to meet her." Luna's eyes widened. "Oh, I wouldn't want to impose on family time." "Nonsense." Theodore waved away her concern. "Anyone who can make Gabriel smile, it's the way he has been lately, is welcome at our table anytime." Gabriel cleared his throat, embarrassed by his grandfather's obvious matchmaking attempts but secretly pleased by the invitation. "You don't have to feel obligated, Luna." "I'd love to come," Luna said, surprising both men. "I don't have much family left, so I always enjoy meeting new people who clearly love each other." After Theodore left, Luna and Gabriel continued working on the mural plans. But the atmosphere had shifted somehow, becoming more intimate and personal. Luna found herself stealing glances at Gabriel as he reviewed her sketches, noting how his Serious business demeanor gave way to genuine enthusiasm when discussing her artistic vision. "Your grandfather is wonderful," Luna said as they took a break for dinner. "You can tell how proud he is of you." Gabriel nodded, his expression growing thoughtful. "He built this company from nothing after immigrating here with almost no money. Everything I've accomplished is built on his foundation." "But you've made it your own," Luna said gently. "He can see that you've honored his legacy while creating something new." Gabriel looked at Luna, struck once again by her ability to see beyond surface details to deeper truths. "How do you do that? Do what? Understand people so quickly? What really matters to them?" Luna considered the question seriously. "I think it comes from painting portraits. You learn to look beyond what someone shows the world to what they're really feeling. With you, I can see how much you love your family and your work, even when you're trying to maintain that serious CEO image." Gabriel moved closer to Luna on the couch, close enough to see the way her eyes reflected the city lights streaming through his windows. "What else do you see when you look at me?" Luna's breath caught as she realized how personal the conversation had become. "I see someone who's been successful at everything he's tried, but who's also lonely. Someone who's surrounded by people who want things from him, but doesn't have many who just want to spend time with him." Gabriel reached up to touch Luna's cheek, his thumb brushing away a smudge of red paint she'd acquired during their afternoon of planning. "You're the first person in years who's wanted to know me rather than use me." The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility and unspoken feelings. But before either could say anything more, Luna's phone buzzed with a text from Jasmine. Asking about her day, the interruption broke the spell, reminding both Gabriel and Luna of the complications that came with their very different worlds. But as Gabriel walked Luna to the elevator that evening, both were thinking about Sunday dinner and the growing connection that neither quite knew how to navigate. The misunderstanding 3 weeks into the mural project, Luna had established a routine. She arrived at Stone Enterprises each morning at 7. When the building was quiet and the lobby light was perfect for painting, Gabriel would stop by before his meetings began, bringing Luna coffee, staying to watch her work for a few minutes before his day consumed him. Luna had completed the underpainting, and was beginning to add the detailed figures that would bring her vision to life. The mural depicted people of all ages and backgrounds, connected through various forms of technology. But Luna's artistic skill made the technology fade into the background, while the human emotions took center stage. Gabriel's employees had grown accustomed to seeing Luna in the lobby. Her long hair tied back with a paintbrush, completely absorbed in her work. Many stopped to watch her progress, and Luna always had a friendly smile and cheerful conversation for anyone who showed interest. On this particular morning, Luna arrived early to take advantage of the beautiful natural light. She was mixing colors on her palette when she heard voices coming from Gabriel's office, which overlooked the lobby through glass walls. "The mural is costing too much," a sharp female voice was saying. $50,000 for wall decoration when we could have bought 3 digital displays for half that cost. Luna couldn't see who was speaking, but she recognized Gabriel's measured response. "The mural isn't decoration, Victoria. It's an investment in company culture and public relations." "Company culture?" the woman scoffed. "Gabriel, you're letting personal feelings cloud your business judgment. Everyone knows you're involved with this artist. The whole situation looks unprofessional." Luna's paintbrush froze in her hand. She felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment and hurt. Gabriel's voice was quieter now, and she couldn't make out his words, but the woman continued speaking clearly. "I've looked into Luna Martinez's background. She's a struggling artist with no major commissions, no gallery representation, and no business experience. The only reason she got this job is because you're dating her." Luna set down her brush and stepped back from the mural, seeing her work with new eyes. Had Gabriel really given her this opportunity just because he felt sorry for her? Was she just another charity case for a wealthy man who could afford to indulge his girlfriend's artistic dreams? The conversation in Gabriel's office continued, but Luna couldn't bear to hear any more. She began packing up her supplies with shaking hands, her mind racing with doubts and wounded pride. Gabriel emerged from his office 20 minutes later, looking forward to his daily check-in with Luna. But when he reached the lobby, he found her easel empty and her supplies gone. The mural was only half finished, and Luna was nowhere to be seen. "Marcus Kim," Gabrielle's assistant, approached with a concerned expression. She left about 10 minutes ago, Marcus said, looked upset about something, packed up really quickly and said she might not be back tomorrow. Gabriel felt his stomach drop. Something had happened to change Luna's mood completely. And he had a sinking feeling it had to do with the difficult conversation he'd just endured with Victoria Walsh, one of the company's board members who had never approved of Gabriel's less conventional business decisions. He tried calling Luna, but her phone went straight to voicemail. He sent several text messages throughout the day but received no response. By evening, Gabriel was genuinely worried and decided to go to Luna's apartment. Luna's building was a converted warehouse in an artsy neighborhood. It's very different from Gabriel's upscale area of the city. Climbed 3 flights of stairs to reach her door, which was marked with a small hand-painted sign reading L. Martinez in cheerful blue letters. When Luna opened the door, Gabriel could see immediately that she'd been crying. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and she wore old painting clothes that were more paint than fabric. Ruby the kitten peered out from behind her legs, sensing the tension in the air. "Luna, what happened today? You left without saying anything." Luna stepped aside to let Gabriel into her small apartment, which felt even more cramped with his tall frame filling the space. Her half-finished canvases seemed to watch them from every corner. "I heard your conversation with that woman," Luna said quietly. "About how I only got the mural commission because we're dating? About how I'm not qualified for the job?" Gabriel's jaw tightened as he realized what had upset Luna. "Victoria Walsh is a board member who questions every decision I make." She wasn't speaking from knowledge, just from prejudice. "But she wasn't wrong, was she?" Luna said, her voice growing stronger with hurt and anger. "I don't have major gallery representation. I haven't done corporate commissions before. The only reason you hired me is because you felt sorry for me." Gabriel stepped closer to Luna, his green eyes intense. "Oh, that's not true. I hired you because you're talented." "Gabriel, be honest with me. If we hadn't met that night, if I was just another artist who submitted a portfolio, would you have chosen me for this project?" Gabriel hesitated for just a moment, but it was enough for Luna to see the truth in his expression. While he genuinely believed in her talent, he also knew that their personal connection had influenced his decision. "I knew it," Luna said, tears starting again. "This whole thing has been charity. You felt bad for the struggling artist who brought you cookies, so you threw some money her way. Luna, that's not fair. Yes, I care about you, but I wouldn't risk my company's reputation on charity. You're creating something beautiful and meaningful. Something that will always be tainted by how I got the opportunity." Luna wrapped her arms around herself protectively. "I need to finish the mural and give you back the money I've already been paid." Gabriel's frustration boiled over. "You're being ridiculous. You earned this commission with your talent and vision." "I'm being ridiculous." Luna's voice rose. "Trying to maintain some dignity in a situation where everyone thinks I'm just the boss's girlfriend playing with paint." The words hung between them like a wall. Gabriel realized he'd said exactly the wrong thing. And Luna realized she'd just revealed how much the criticism had hurt her pride and her feelings for Gabriel. "Luna, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to imply I think you should go," Luna said quietly. "I need some time to think." Gabriel wanted to argue, to find the words that would fix the damage that had been done. But Luna's closed expression told him that anything he said now would only make things worse. "I'll give you space, Gabriel," said finally. "But Luna, this isn't over. What we have is real, and your talent is real." After Gabriel left, Luna sank onto her couch, with Ruby purring in her lap. She stared at her unfinished paintings and wondered if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life, or if she'd finally started protecting her heart from inevitable disappointment. For 5 days, Luna threw herself into her art with desperate intensity. She worked on 3 different paintings simultaneously, using bold strokes and vibrant colors to express emotions she couldn't put into words. Her small apartment became a maze of wet canvases and paint-covered surfaces, while Ruby the kitten learned to navigate around artistic chaos with feline grace. Gabriel had sent flowers, texts, and voicemails, but Luna ignored them all. She knew that if she heard his voice or saw his face, her resolve would crumble. The hurt ran too deep. Not just from the conversation she'd overheard, but from the realization that she'd allowed herself to become vulnerable to someone whose world was so different from hers. Jasmine had tried to intervene, pointing out that Luna might be sabotaging something wonderful out of pride and fear. But Luna couldn't shake the feeling that accepting Gabriel's help had compromised her integrity as an artist. On Friday afternoon, while Luna was mixing colors for a stormy seascape that reflected her turbulent emotions, someone knocked on her door. She expected to find Gabriel standing in the hallway, but instead discovered a petite woman in her 60s, with kind eyes and silver hair styled in an elegant bob.
Nice.
Miss Martinez, I'm Eleanor Stone, Gabriel's grandmother. Could I have a conversation? Luna's heart raced as she recognized the woman Theodore had mentioned with such obvious affection. Eleanor wore a simple but expensive dress and carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to getting what she wanted through charm rather than force. Mrs. Stone, I don't think Gabriel would want us talking right now. Eleanor smiled warmly. My dear, I'm 73 years old. I stopped worrying about what my grandson wants when it comes to matters of the heart. She glanced past Luna into the paint-covered apartment. May I come in? I promise I'm not here to lecture you. Luna stepped aside, suddenly aware of how her apartment must look to someone from Gabriel's world. But Eleanor's eyes lit up as she took in the canvases covering every surface, studying Luna's work with genuine interest. You have remarkable talent, Eleanor said, pausing in front of a painting Luna had completed the previous month. It showed an elderly couple dancing in their kitchen, their faces illuminated by the warm glow of morning sunlight. This painting captures something true about love. It's the comfort of sharing ordinary moments with someone who knows you completely. Luna felt her defenses beginning to soften. Thank you. I painted that after watching my neighbors through my window. They've been married for 50 years. Eleanor continued moving through the small space, examining each painting thoughtfully. Gabriel told us about the mural project and about the misunderstanding that ended it. Theodore and I wanted you to know that we've seen the preliminary work, and it's exactly what our company needs. Mrs. Stone, I appreciate you coming here, but the situation is complicated. Eleanor settled onto Luna's second-hand couch with the air of someone preparing for a long conversation. My dear, I've been married for 48 years and raised 2 children who went on to have children of their own. Very little about human relationships surprises me anymore. Luna sat across from Eleanor, Ruby immediately jumping into the older woman's lap with the intuitive knowledge that cats possess about who needs their comfort. Gabriel made a mistake, Eleanor continued, scratching Ruby behind the ears. He hired you partly because he cares about you, and he should have been more transparent about that from the beginning. But his feelings don't negate your talent. We'll always think I got the job because of our relationship. Some people will think that, Eleanor agreed. But the people whose opinions matter will judge you based on your work, not on how you got the opportunity to create it. Eleanor paused, seeming to choose her words carefully.
Luna, I want to tell you about how I met Theodore. I was a secretary at a small accounting firm, and he was a young entrepreneur trying to get a business loan. The bank turned him down.
But I believed in his ideas and convinced my father to lend Theodore the money he needed. Luna listened intently as Eleanor continued.
Oh.
For years, people said Theodore only succeeded because his wife's family helped him.
They whispered that he wasn't a real businessman, just someone who married into opportunity. Yeah, but you know what?
Theodore did. What? He proved them wrong by building something extraordinary. The whispers stopped when his success became undeniable. Eleanor leaned forward. Gabriel sees something special in you, Luna. The question is whether you're brave enough to prove him right. After Eleanor left, Luna sat surrounded by her paintings and thought about courage. She'd been so focused on protecting her pride that she'd lost sight of what really mattered. The work itself, and the man who believed in her enough to take a risk. The unexpected gallery Monday morning brought an email that made Luna's hands shake as she read it. Patricia Henley, the gallery owner, who'd displayed Luna's work the previous month, was offering her a solo exhibition in 6 weeks. The timing felt like fate, or perhaps like Gabriel's influence, though the email made no mention of him. Luna spent the day painting with renewed energy, working on a series that captured the complexity of modern relationships, connection and distance, vulnerability and strength, the fear of being known, and the longing to be understood. Each canvas told part of the story she couldn't speak aloud, That evening, Luna made a decision that surprised even her. She packed up her mural supplies and returned to Stone Enterprises. The lobby was empty except for a security guard who recognized Luna and nodded her through. Gabriel's office was dark, but Luna could see he'd been working late again from the coffee cups and scattered papers visible through the glass walls. Luna set up her easel and began painting. She worked through the night, adding details and depth to the mural that had been haunting her thoughts for days. By morning, she'd completed 2 full sections, bringing her vision closer to reality. Gabriel arrived at 7:30, his usual time, and stopped short when he saw Luna painting. She wore paint-stained jeans and an old sweater, her hair falling in waves around her shoulders as she focused intently on a section depicting children, video calling grandparents across the world. Luna. Gabriel's voice was carefully neutral, but Luna could hear the hope underneath. "I'm finishing the mural," Luna said without turning around. "It deserves to be completed properly." Gabriel approached slowly, afraid to break whatever spell had brought Luna back to his building. "Does this mean you've forgiven me?" Luna set down her brush and finally looked at Gabriel. He appeared tired, with shadows under his green eyes, and his usually perfect hair slightly disheveled.
"Oh.
I'm not sure forgiveness is the right word. I think we both made mistakes. Luna, I should have been honest about my motivations from the beginning. Yes, I care about you, and that influenced my decision. But I genuinely believe you're the right artist for this project." Luna studied Gabriel's face, seeing the sincerity in his expression. "Your grandmother came to see me. She helped me understand some things." Gabriel's eyebrows rose. "My grandmother. She told me about how she and your grandfather met, about the courage it takes to prove people wrong." Luna gestured toward the mural. "I want to finish this because I'm proud of what I'm creating. And I want people to judge me based on the work, not on the circumstances that led to it." Gabriel moved closer, close enough to see the paint smudges on Luna's cheek and the determination in her brown eyes. "What does this mean for us?" Luna hesitated, her heart racing at the directness of the question. "I don't know yet. But I know I don't want to lose what we have because I was too scared to take a chance." Gabriel reached out slowly, giving Luna time to pull away if she wanted to. When she didn't move, he cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing away a streak of blue paint. "I've missed you," Gabriel said quietly. "These past few days have felt empty without your voice and your laugh, and your way of seeing beauty in everything." Luna leaned into Gabriel's touch despite herself. "I've missed you too, more than I wanted to admit." Gabriel leaned down and kissed Luna softly, a gentle pressure that spoke of relief and hope and careful tenderness.
"Oh."
Luna kissed him back, tasting the promise of something real and lasting. When they broke apart, Luna smiled up at Gabriel. "I should probably finish this mural before your employees start arriving and find their CEO kissing the artist in the lobby." Gabriel laughed, the sound echoing through the empty space. "Let them talk. I'm done caring what people think about my personal life." The gallery opening 6 weeks later. Luna stood in Patricia Henley's gallery wearing a flowing black dress that Jasmine had insisted she buy for the occasion. The space was filled with Luna's paintings, each piece telling a story about human connection and the complexity of modern love. Gabriel arrived wearing a navy suit that brought out his eyes, carrying a bouquet of sunflowers that made Luna beam with delight. He'd spent the previous evening helping Luna hang her paintings, offering his opinion on placement and lighting with the same attention to detail he brought to business negotiations. "You look incredible," Gabriel said, kissing Luna's cheek. "And your work looks even better displayed properly." Luna glanced around the gallery, still somewhat amazed that her paintings were hanging on these walls. "I keep thinking someone's going to tell me this is all a mistake." "No mistakes," Gabriel said firmly. "Just talent and hard work finally getting the recognition they deserve." The gallery began to fill with people as the evening progressed. Art collectors, critics, and curious visitors moved through the space, studying Luna's work and discussing her techniques. Luna watched nervously as strangers examined paintings that felt like pieces of her soul. Theodore and Eleanor arrived together, both dressed elegantly and beaming with pride, as if Luna were their own granddaughter. Theodore spent 20 minutes discussing artistic technique with a prominent art critic, while Eleanor charmed a group of potential collectors with stories about Luna's dedication to her craft. Your painting of the elderly couple dancing, Eleanor, said to Luna during a quiet moment, reminded me of a morning last week when Theodore spun me around the kitchen while we waited for coffee to brew. You captured something true about long-term love. Luna felt tears prick her eyes. That means everything to me. I want my art to help people recognize the beautiful moments in their own lives. Halfway through the evening, Patricia Henley approached Luna with news that made her heart race. I've had 3 serious inquiries about purchasing pieces. And the art critic from City Arts magazine wants to schedule an interview. Luna, this is exactly the kind of response we hoped for. Gabriel watched Luna's face light up with joy and felt his chest tighten with pride and love. This success belonged entirely to Luna's talent and vision, and seeing her receive the recognition she deserved filled him with happiness. As the evening wound down, Gabriel and Luna walked slowly through the gallery, looking at her paintings in the context of her growing success. Do you remember what you told me about painting emotions rather than just images? Gabriel asked, stopping in front of a piece that showed 2 people reaching for each other across a crowded subway platform. I remember everything about our first conversation, Luna said softly. Looking at your work tonight, I understand what you meant. These paintings make people feel something real. Luna turned to face Gabriel, her brown eyes bright with emotion. You gave me the confidence to pursue this exhibition. The mural project showed me that I could work on a larger scale, that my art could reach more people. Gabriel shook his head. I might have provided an opportunity, but you did the work. You created something that speaks to people's hearts. As the last guests departed, Luna and Gabriel found themselves alone in the gallery, with her paintings surrounding them like a visual diary of her artistic journey. Luna, Gabriel said, his voice carrying a nervous edge that Luna had never heard before. There's something I need to tell you. Luna felt her pulse quicken at Gabriel's serious tone. Ow, what is it? Gabriel took Luna's hands in his green eyes. Intense and vulnerable. I love you. I love your passion for your art, your kindness to everyone you meet, your ability to find beauty in ordinary moments. I love the way you paint with your whole body, getting as much color on yourself as on the canvas. I love your terrible jokes and your homemade cookies and the way you talk to Ruby like she understands every word. Luna's breath caught as Gabriel continued speaking, his words washing over her like warm sunlight. I know our worlds are different, and I know there will always be people who question our relationship, but I don't care about any of that. I care about building a life with you, supporting your dreams, and sharing whatever adventures come next. Gabriel reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Luna's eyes widened as he dropped to one knee in the middle of the gallery, surrounded by her paintings. Luna Martinez, will you marry me? Gabriel opened the box to reveal a stunning ring with a center stone that caught the gallery lights and threw rainbows across Luna's paintings. But what took Luna's breath away wasn't the ring's beauty, but the look of complete vulnerability and hope in Gabriel's eyes. Gabriel, Luna whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Yes, of course yes. Gabriel slipped the ring onto Luna's finger with shaking hands, then stood and swept her into his arms, spinning her around the gallery while she laughed through her tears. I love you too, Luna said when Gabriel set her down. I love your dedication to your family and your work, your rare smiles that light up your whole face, the way you remember little details about people who matter to you. I love that you believed in my art before I believed in it myself. Gabriel cupped Luna's face and kissed her deeply, tasting salt from her happy tears and feeling like the luckiest man in the world. 6 months later, the completed mural in Stone Enterprises lobby had become something of a local landmark. Visitors often stopped to study Luna's depiction of human connection across cultures and generations, and several other companies had commissioned similar works from her. Luna's career had blossomed beyond her wildest dreams, with gallery representation, corporate commissions, and a waiting list of clients who wanted her particular gift for capturing emotional truth. Gabriel and Luna had found a rhythm that honored both their ambitions and their love. Gabriel had restructured his role at Stone Enterprises, delegating more daily operations to focus on strategic vision and innovation. This change gave him time to support Luna's career and to rediscover his own passion for the creative problem-solving that had originally driven him to build his company. Luna had moved into Gabriel's penthouse, transforming one of the spare bedrooms into a light-filled art studio where Ruby the cat supervised her work from a sunny windowsill. The contrast between Gabriel's minimalist aesthetic and Luna's colorful chaos had created a home that reflected both their personalities. On a crisp October morning, Luna stood in her studio putting the finishing touches on a painting she'd been working on for weeks. It depicted their first dinner at Skyline Restaurant, but painted from memory with the soft golden glow of nostalgia. Gabriel appeared in the doorway carrying 2 cups of coffee, a daily ritual they'd established.
House.
"It coming along?" Gabriel asked, setting Luna's caramel latte on the table beside her easel. "I think it's finished," Luna said, stepping back to examine her work. "I wanted to capture how that night felt, rather than exactly how it looked." Gabriel studied the painting, seeing himself and Luna at their corner table, but painted with an ethereal quality that made the scene feel dreamlike and magical. "You've made us look like we're in a fairy tale. It's exactly how it felt to me," Luna said, leaning into Gabriel's side, like something impossible was happening. Gabriel wrapped his arms around Luna, breathing in the scent of paint and vanilla, perfume that had become synonymous with home. "Speaking of impossible things, I have something to show you." Gabriel led Luna to his office, where architectural plans were spread across his desk. Luna studied the blueprints with growing excitement as she realized what she was looking at. "You're building an art center?" Luna said, her voice filled with wonder. "We're building an art center," Gabriel corrected. "Place we're established. Artists can mentor emerging talent, where the community can take classes, where art becomes accessible to everyone regardless of their economic background." Luna traced the plans with her finger, seeing studios, gallery spaces, and classrooms designed to foster creativity and connection. "Gabriel, this is incredible. Something like this would cost millions." "It's an investment in the future," Gabriel said simply, "and in the belief that art has the power to bring people together and create understanding across differences." Luna looked up at Gabriel with tears in her eyes. "You continue to amaze me. Just when I think I know how generous and visionary you are, you show me something like this." Gabriel cupped Luna's face gently. "You showed me that success means more than profit margins and market share. You taught me that creating something beautiful and meaningful is worth any amount of money." Their wedding took place in the sculpture garden of the Metropolitan Museum of Art on a perfect spring day when the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. Luna wore a flowing ivory dress with delicate lace sleeves, and Gabriel wore a classic black tuxedo that made his green eyes especially striking. The ceremony was intimate, attended by their closest friends and family. Theodore walked Luna down the aisle since her own father had passed away years earlier, and Eleanor served as Luna's honorary grandmother, helping her get ready and offering advice about marriage that made them both laugh and cry. Jasmine stood as Luna's maid of honor, beaming with pride and only slightly embarrassed about her role in bringing them together. Marcus Kim served as Gabriel's best man, having become one of Luna's closest friends. Through his genuine appreciation for her art and her positive influence on Gabriel, the ceremony itself was simple but deeply personal. Gabriel and Luna had written their own vows, promising to support each other's dreams, to find adventure in both ordinary moments and extraordinary opportunities, and to never lose sight of what had brought them together in the first place. "I promise to always bring you homemade cookies when you're having a difficult day," Luna said, making Gabriel and the guests laugh, "and to paint our story so that someday our grandchildren will know that true love is worth taking risks for." Gabriel's vows were equally heartfelt. "I promise to always make room in my perfectly organized life for your beautiful chaos. To support your art, not because I can afford to, but because the world needs your vision. And to never forget that the best decision I ever made was staying for dinner with a woman who brought pastries to a first date." When they kissed as husband and wife, surrounded by spring flowers and the people who loved them most, Luna felt like she was living inside one of her own paintings, where emotion transcended reality and love made everything possible. The forever after, 5 years later, the Stone Art Center had become a cornerstone of the city's cultural community. Luna served as its artistic director, curating exhibitions and mentoring young artists while continuing to create her own work. Gabriel had discovered that he enjoyed the strategic challenges of running a nonprofit as much as he'd ever enjoyed building his tech empire. Their penthouse had evolved to accommodate Luna's growing success and Gabriel's newfound appreciation For living with art, paintings covered the walls, sculptures occupied corners, and creativity had infiltrated every room. Ruby, now a dignified older cat, continued to supervise all artistic endeavors from her favorite sunny spots. On quiet Sunday mornings, Gabriel and Luna could often be found in the kitchen. Gabriel reading the financial news while Luna painted. Small watercolors of their breakfast or the way morning light fell across their table, these intimate moments had become as precious to them as any grand gesture or public success. Luna's art had evolved to encompass not just human connection, but the way love transforms people and creates new possibilities. Her paintings from this period glowed with warmth and confidence, reflecting an artist who had found her voice and her place in the world. Gabriel had learned to see beauty in imperfection, to value creativity alongside efficiency, and to measure success not just in profits, but in the positive impact their work had on others. His business philosophy had shifted to prioritize innovation that served human needs rather than just market demands. Their love story had become legendary among their friends, a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected connections create the strongest foundations. Luna still brought Gabriel homemade treats when he was stressed. Gabriel still surprised Luna with small gestures that showed how well he understood her artistic soul. The mural in the Stone Enterprises lobby remained Luna's most famous public work, but she considered her greatest masterpiece to be the life she and Gabriel had created together. A life built on mutual respect, shared dreams, and the courage to love across differences. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Gabriel surprised Luna with a small painting he'd secretly commissioned from one of her former students. It depicted their first dinner at Skyline Restaurant, but painted in Luna's distinctive style, capturing not just how they looked, but how they'd felt in that moment when everything changed. "It's perfect," Luna said, tears in her eyes as she studied the painting. "You even remembered the lavender cookies." "How could I forget?" Gabriel said, pulling Luna close. "Those cookies changed my life," Luna laughed, the sound still as bright and genuine as it had been on that first evening when she'd nervously offered homemade pastries to a stranger who became her everything. As they stood together in their art-filled home, surrounded by the life they'd built and the love they'd nurtured, both Gabriel and Luna knew that their story was far from over. There would be new adventures, new challenges, new opportunities to support each other's dreams and create beautiful things together. But for now, in this perfect moment, they were content to be exactly where they were, two people who had found their way to each other against all odds and had chosen to build something extraordinary from a single evening when love disguised itself as a substitute dinner date. Their story had begun with Luna agreeing to take her friend's place for one dinner, never imagining that the millionaire across the table would refuse to let her go, not because he wouldn't allow it, but because she had captured his heart so completely that he never wanted to spend another day without her laughter, her art, and her beautiful way of seeing the world. And Luna, who had once feared that accepting Gabriel's love meant compromising her independence, had discovered that true love didn't diminish her dreams but gave her the courage and support to make them bigger than she'd ever dared to imagine. The end.